and to respond more effectively to the epidemic of missing and murdered indigenous people. Since then, the United States Department of Justice and Interior have created a lead new federal agency enforcement strategy that takes the special circumstances of these crimes into account. This is a priority to me and to the Justice Department. And so it's using the Violence Against Women Act, which I wrote myself 30 years ago, as my sister would kid and say, with my own paw. I sat down and wrote that because I feel so strongly about it, to end the scourge of violence against women everywhere. This year, I was proud to sign a reauthorization of this law that includes historic provisions that strengthen tribal sovereignty and safety. And today, I'm announcing even more critical actions that are the result of a meaningful and deliberate consultation process with you all. My administration listened, we heard you, and we're implementing many of the changes you asked for. Today, I signed a new presidential memorandum that improves consultation between the federal government and tribal nations based on key principles. Consultation has to be a two-way, nation-to-nation exchange of information. Federal agencies should strive to reach consensus among the tribes. And there should be adequate time for ample communications. Federal agencies should prepare a public record for what's transpired during those consultations, and tribal nations should know how their contributions influence the decision-making. And this is a new presidential memorandum requires all relevant federal agencies to get annual training on tribal consultation process. Let me say that again. All federal agencies. And so, folks, it's a whole changed approach. My administration also continues using all the available authorities, including the Antiquities Act, to protect sacred tribal lands. Deb was with me. Deb was with me last year at the White House when I restored national monuments at Bears Ears and the Grand Staircase Escalade in Utah. The National Canyon and Seamonts in New England. And last month I traveled to Colorado to declare Camp Hale National Continental Divide the first new national monument in my presidency using the Antiquities Act. Millions of acres. Look. And there's so much more. There's so much more that we're going to do to protect the treasured tribal lands. When it comes to Spirit Mountain and the surrounding ridges and canyons in southern Nevada, I'm committed to protecting this sacred place that is central to the creation story of so many tribes that are here today. All right. And I'm grateful to so many of you who have led the fight to protect it. I especially want to thank Nevada's congressional delegation. I know there's a lot going on. Well, I can see a couple here now. I see Dina Titus is here. Dina, how are you? Thank you for the support. Is Catherine here? Cortez Mastow? She and Senator Rosen. They both are. There's a little action going on in the United States Senate to try to prevent a great rail strike. Is Representative Lee and Horsford here? Well, you got the best of the group here, Dana. She's an old friend and a strong supporter. And I look forward to being able to visit Spirit Mountain and experience it with you as soon as I can. And folks, look, I also want to thank Raul, Chairman of the House Natural Resources, and for his leadership across the board on all the efforts I've talked about here today. I'm also announcing that Deb, as Secretary of Interior, will continue to work with the Secretary of Agriculture, as I said, is here, to co-stewardship the federal lands, because that's what it is. We've already signed over 20 new agreements with tribes this year, giving them a greater role in the stewardship of federal lands that are important to their cultures. And it's not stopping there. We have 60 additional co-stewardship agreements currently under review, and I'm announcing today that the Secretary of Commerce is going to formally join these efforts as well. So let me close with a word my dad used all the time: respect. Everyone's entitled to be treated with respect and dignity. The dignity that comes from just being who we are. This is especially true for tribal nations, to whom the United States owes a solemn trust and treaty obligations that we haven't always lived up to. When I talk about respect, here's what I mean by respect. Respect for tribes as nations and treaties as law. Respect for, beg your pardon? I thought you said no. I was getting a little worried. I thought somebody said no. Respect for indigenous knowledge and tribal consultations as a key part of the federal agency decision-making. Respect means we'll defend tribal sovereignty and self-government and self-determination, and will support tribal economy and keep fighting for better tribal health care, child care, education, housing, public safety, and so much more. And respect means being there in person to show it. And you've seen Jill. You've seen my wife Jill in Indian country. She's at a funeral this morning for the mother of a friend of ours. But she spent a lot of time. I've spent a lot of time in Indian country as a senator and vice president. But I can say here today, I intend to make official presidential visits to Indian country, to make it official. And I will do so in the enduring spirit of our nation-to-nation relationship, the spirit of friendship, stewardship, and respect. It's taken too long for us to recognize this. It's the only way to move forward. But my administration is doing all it can to demonstrate our commitment to those timeless ideals. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your partnership. And I'm sure I'll make mistakes, but you know me. Don't hesitate to correct me when I make it. And I know you won't hesitate. But I really mean it. I really mean it. Well, I tell you what, no one's ever done as much as president as this administration is doing, period. I am committed. And as my grandfather Finnegan would say, that's the Irish of it. Thank you all very much.